So, hello everyone. We are Astronomy Club of TCET, and this is our very first episode of a podcast series that we'll be doing called Across the Astroverse. Um, the basic idea, I guess Shivam will be the best person. So why basically, why did we want to go through this thing, the whole podcast idea?
So the podcast idea is basically because we want to spread awareness. That was our first motto about astronomy, and right now everyone at some point or some level loves astronomy. It could be maybe just
Right.
watching the sky full of stars or
Exactly.
the song by the Coldplay.
Mhm.
You could say it's good one. So the basic idea is if you love astronomy, we are here to even give you more interest in it and spread awareness. That's the whole basic part of it.
We are okay. Some of you might say we are in no position to comment about astronomy, but let me tell you, we are like one of the really we love astronomy. It's
Pioneers.
so we are just like four dudes just talking about astronomy, and we'll be replaced by so many different speakers and very good speakers. So like the very first episode that we are doing here is to just give you a we'll just a gist about
a glimpse of
That's
astronomy.
yeah.
glimpse of us.
So
That's why the name of the podcast is Across the Astronomy.
Exactly.
Astroverse, sorry.
Astroverse.
Astroverse.
So we will be talking about the satellites that orbit Earth to the far ends of the observable universe.
Exactly.
We will be covering the whole cosmos.
Exactly.
So that's why the name across the
Yeah.
Astroverse.
So we'll be doing like very amazing
Yeah.
topics like what is happening on the boundaries of the cosmos and
What is happening on Earth because of the boundaries of the cosmos.
exactly, and like stars, planets, obviously,
Yeah.
your black holes and all of those intimidating topics.
Nebula.
But we'll try to in nebulas.
Nebulas,
Exactly.
supernovas, and whatever new thing comes up and you hear about
Anything,
it,
yeah.
we'll just do a podcast about it.
Right.
Just comment down below what you want to hear.
Also, yeah, please comment. Let us know what you guys want to hear or see us talk about, and you can put weigh yourself in, okay, by obviously commenting and reposting. That's the best way to interact with things that we do. Okay, also follow Astronomy Club of TCT page.
Also, we are verified by ISRO, so that's a plus.
Yeah, so okay, I'll just because
Yeah.
you brought that up, I'll talk about what we do. Okay.
Yeah.
So we started this club a year ago, and we have been doing loads and loads of activities. And these activities have been to the basic idea was to let people know about astronomy
Exactly.
and fall in love with space. Okay, if they already aren't, which is the
And the idea behind astronomy in general, people had was confined to a telescope.
yeah.
And our main challenge, I would say, was putting an icebreaker to that. Like
Yeah.
it's not just telescope; it's a lot more than telescope. So our first few events, if you remember, we did the virtual reality
Yeah,
exactly.
into the Astroverse,
Yeah.
so that people could get into what astronomy really is. and
Breaking the stereotypes.
breaking the stereotype. It's not just a telescope, but it's so much more.
Complex physical phenomena, how the universe works and how it was created. That's basically astronomy.
Astronomy.
So we
And-
wanted to reach out to people and tell about them, tell to them that it's not basically just watching celestial objects like moon or other planets, but it's so much more than that, and it's very
Exactly.
complicated.
Although we love showing people through telescopes because
We have
we
done
have
that activities.
we have done activities like
Yeah.
solar
Solar
observation. So what we used to do is that we used to put a solar filter on the telescope and let people see solar spots and the
Yeah.
magnificent beauty of sun that we
Yeah.
might not see on everyday life.
especially during solar eclipses, we used to.
Yeah,
We stream solar eclipse. The
Right.
pictures are also on the page.
We
Do like it. But
And
apart from that,
talking about the ISRO time.
yeah, yeah.
So it's a program where we teach the school
Underprivileged.
kids, underprivileged school kids, about complex phenomena of astronomy in very simple language and through very
Exactly. Yeah.
cool simulations.
Yeah.
And if you ever get a chance to attend it, please do.
So yeah, that's basically what usually we do. Okay, and that thing that the ISRO thing, so it's under ISRO Space Tutor Program where ISRO recognizes few bodies which would go for them to promote space science, and we are proud to say that we are one of them. So yeah, that's a big deal,
Yeah.
I think. And yeah,
We all think.
it's a big deal. And we have also finally complete first year of Astronomy Club. So that's also a cool thing. Now we're gonna start off with the second year, which is going to be everything but just better. Okay,
Better.
and more. So let's just talk about astronomy in general. Like astronomy is one of the oldest science,
Yeah.
and it somehow intrigues everyone. Um, be of any range they just love it. Okay,
So
age range.
what makes it the oldest science is that we have been using astronomy in basically everything.
Yeah.
Before the clocks were invented, we used astronomy to know the what time of day it is, what month is going on, and in what part of what season of year we are currently. Astronomy was also used for navigation
Right.
by the voyagers,
Yeah.
the voyagers. So yeah, it's very ancient science which have been used since Stone Age time, because at that time the stars were more visible. How navigation system work was, we used to spot polar star, the
Yeah.
North Star, and by that we know that that's the north, and according to that we came to know about
Yeah.
south, west, and east. Seasons can also be determined by the moon and sun's positions in the sky.
So
So,
that is what
yeah.
interest. That's
Yeah,
what
that's the
interesting.
basics
People
of
think
astronomy.
that it's just space, but
Yeah.
people have been using it for
Using it.
basic things in their lives
Yeah.
since,
Millennials.
and
Yes.
it was the key to the evolution we
Yeah.
have right now. So it's amazing.
And like it has now in some way or another transformed into the
Yeah.
technologies that we use.
We still have
So,
lots to
yeah.
uncover and
Yeah,
discover about
loads
the
and loads to
space.
discover.
Yeah.
But then like so like you said the point about navigation stuff like that.
Yeah.
We still do that by global positioning satellites.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's still so much integrated into astronomy because
Astro-
it's in space. It's a
Yes.
satellite.
Yeah.
So on the basis of our observations and calculations that we do about outer space, we have launched things in space. And just thinking about that blows my mind. Like, just our imagination and our ideas and the way we human beings in general are intrigued by cosmos and the way we put efforts to do things into it. And now we are seeing things, tangible outcomes. Recently the Chandrayaan thing,
Chandrayaan.
right? So like people would also love to know what exactly are they doing. So would you care to talk about it?
So Chandrayaan, this is a Chandrayaan 3 program which
Yeah.
will be launching on 14th of July, I think.
13,
Yeah,
I guess.
third-
13.
It's been delayed by 214.
Yeah,
I think
14,
so.
like
Yeah.
2:35.
If
do
you're wrong,
watch it
just put in the comments.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
It's 13th or 14th of July.
on 2:35 p.m.
Yeah.
Indian Standard
Okay,
Time.
okay, for
So then it's basically like it's the second attempt, because the first attempt that they went for, which was the Vikram lander, it did not land properly,
Yeah.
and like they had to again rebuild it. We could see on news like the chief of ISRO was crying and stuff. Keeping that apart, this is the second attempt for India going to moon. First landing by the vehicle named Gaganyaan, and then we have some algorithms set in our Vikram lander which will be testing the soil of what do you say, moon, and get the results
Yeah.
of that.
And like the very much like the best thing is that that lander itself is like a laboratory.
Yeah.
So they'll also be doing tests, which is cool. Like you have a flying laboratory.
By
on
that,
wheels.
India will be the fourth country which would be doing that
So
in
are
the
we
world.
sending man, or it will be
No, that will be
robotic?
that it will be robotic. By 2030, we are planning to send a first
First mission,
man
man
mission.
Okay.
on moon.
So this is completely a robotic mission which
Yeah.
will be
Yeah.
operated from
But I
India
always like
itself.
I always felt moon had more chances of colonizing. Like obviously in terms it doesn't have an atmosphere, but then like that's the first place to start off.
Yeah, like
So obviously, a lot of space agencies have been, big agencies have been putting their focus on Mars
yeah.
and colonization. But I think if space is the problem, okay, like living is not the problem because Earth is a good place if you really
Yeah, exactly.
like. Yeah, you don't need to go out to just make a mark that you have to just go outside.
It's
to
just a
form
curiosity of a
colonies.
man.
Yeah. So if you really need space, then Moon is the best place to set up warehouses. That's what I guess Virgin by Jeff Bezos, right?
Yeah,
So that's what they are doing to set up their Amazon warehouses on Moon.
on
So that's where the focus is. Well, obviously SpaceX has a different focus of colonizing Mars.
Mars.
But as a civilization, I think colonizing Mars would be much more beneficial because of the mineral properties of the Mars. Mars has a rich content of iron in its
Iron,
own.
right?
Yeah, so that will be a huge step in involving the civilization over there. Also, colonizing Mars would be a little bit more simpler than colonizing Moon, I think.
Yeah, colonizing
According to
Moon is not an
theories,
option because
yeah.
they don't have an atmosphere.
Yeah.
So
But colonizing Mars can be possible by creating an false or pseudo atmosphere over
Yeah.
there. So
But,
that's
like,
possible.
So
Still,
the
it's like-
pseudo atmosphere you
Yeah.
talk about, why cannot we create it on the moon?
So the thing is, the moon does not have the minerals required to create a pseudo atmosphere, whereas the Mars. So the quickest way to create a pseudo
So, like-
atmosphere on Mars would be to just drop nuclear bombs on both ends of the moon, on both ends of the Mars,
Yeah.
Mars pole. So what it will do is it will emit a lots of carbon and sulfur, which will create a greenhouse effect. And by greenhouse effect, due to iron in its soil, the greenhouse effect will promote the growth of plants naturally.
Right.
So when the plants are grown, obviously the algae and microorganisms can be grown. So that thing we
Yeah.
don't have to transport from Earth. We can directly grow it over there. So therefore, the civilization will be easier on Mars, I think.
Like the Martian movie.
Martian.
If you have not seen, watch it.
I really don't know.
So that's how the civilization on Mars works. Same thing can be done on Venus, but exactly the opposite. The Mars is a little bit too cold, so we have to warm it up for plants to grow. On the other hand, the Venus is a little bit too warm for plants to grow.
Okay.
So that's how we can colonize our.
I think recently
Neighboring
also on Venus, if I'm not wrong, there was phosphine, traits of
Yeah,
phosphine in the
yeah.
atmosphere,
Yeah.
which not exactly means life, but it's like traces of life. So,
And because it was in the atmosphere,
Yeah.
it rose a big question as what should we recognize a life
life
as?
exactly makes sense.
So, as we are human beings, we are on Earth, we know life as human beings or animals or plants
Yeah.
walking in a physical form. But because of events like finding molecules of phosphine in the atmosphere,
Yeah.
they, life can be and bacteria in the atmosphere too, and
Yeah.
we cannot recognize it as of now because we don't know what life is as it is.
So basically, our life as we understand is purely based on carbon. But apart from our understanding, the alien civilization may be based on some other elements like phosphine or some other elements that
Which
we
we
have
don't
not yet
know.
discovered.
Yes.
So yeah, so life can be based on that too. So that's where the Drake equations comes in, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Can you just
What's
tell
the
me?
yeah,
So before that, the best part about astronomy is like every one of our being like is made from an explosion in this universe.
Yeah.
the
That's the first part, the Big Bang.
Big Bang.
It started, and every element in the body, like our body is made up of elements. Like how many elements?
Atoms.
16, 11.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the elements. All these elements are what do you say?
have been since the Big Bang.
Have been since the
been
Big Bang,
existing
yeah.
since the Big
Or
Bang.
after any supernovas that take place in the world.
All Carl Sagan would say we're all made of stardust.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, that does make sense.
True. That
We
makes
are
sense.
stardust.
We have been existing since the Big Bang.
Yeah.
Just we have manifested in this form recently.
Yeah.
So
So coming back to Drake's equation.
yeah, so the Drake's equation, the limitation of Drake's equation, I would like to start by that. It's that it just states the probability of alien life existing outside in the universe is based on carbon emissions, carbon-based life form. We cannot predict the probability of other based life forms existing.
Because we don't know.
Yeah,
what
because
they
we
look
don't
like.
know, we do not understand that as of yet. So what Drake's equation does is we calculate the number of galaxies in the observable universe, the number of star systems, and the habitable zones in those star systems, and the probability of life existing in those star systems. So what I find really interesting is that the probability of alien life existing is very little, extremely little. But when we see the huge scale of cosmos, the
Yeah.
probability shoots up exponentially. Like the probability may be 1% of life existing, but when we consider the cosmos, which is very,
1%
very, very
is a
huge, yeah, the
lot.
1% is lot. It's
Yeah.
like millions of galaxies.
Yeah.
Even the 1% is million of galaxies.
Exactly.
So yeah, the alien life existing has a very high chances.
Talking about habitable zones, I would like to elaborate on that.
Yeah, sure.
So, habitable zones is basically, let's consider our galaxy, our solar system for a reference point because all of you must be familiar. So, habitable zone is between Venus and Mars, and it's the perfect zone away from a star or a giant.
Yeah. Goldilocks zone.
Good
Goldilocks zone.
Goldilocks zone where life can exist. The life we know, the carbon-based
Carbon-based
life
life.
we know, can exist comfortably with proper conditions.
Yeah.
So such kind of habitable zones are around many of the stars or the red giants in the universe, and through different satellites we have discovered some of them and have found planets which are
Yeah,
habitable.
exactly, which are habitable, like the Kepler, which is the
Kepler
perfect,
B.
the perfect identical replica of Earth where
Earth.
life can exist. So yeah,
the
the
things of
habitable
spectral
zone.
Earth.
So considering our star system, we have 3 habitable zones. Considering how many galaxies we have, according to Fermi, we have around 100 billion galaxies. In each galaxies, there are more than 100 million stars. Now, each star system might contain 1 to 3 habitable zones, planets in habitable zones.
So
So the life the probability of life existing in 3 to 400 million
Is a lot.
celestial objects is a huge. Is a
Yeah.
huge. And as of now, as I said
This is
before,
the life we are talking, which
about-
we
We
know,
know, like
the
carbon
carbon
based.
based.
which we can
Yeah,
recognize.
exactly. So the life probability of life existing there is a huge. So that's where the SETI comes in, the space search for extraterrestrial life intelligence. That's the organization that have been searching for extraterrestrial life for I guess since 1950s something. So what they do is they trace the radioactive waves or the radio signals which we have received from outer planets, outer galaxies and all. And so the radio signals are actually man-made. It's not something that exists in nature by itself. Okay, it has to something has to trigger a radio signal.
But then what I have, like, it's my personal thing that I believe. Usually we used to think pulsars also are some kind of
Yeah.
signals, because at that time, because they were very periodic, right? And when we didn't know about pulsars, if I'm not wrong, that those are the things called little green men.
Little green bear.
So they used to think it's aliens. And then the more we look into it, the more we realize that the things that we might be receiving, even the radio waves, right? So they might just be something else caused by some astrophysical phenomenon.
Yeah, that's the thing we cannot say for sure
Yeah.
because the radio waves to reach our Earth takes around millions of years. Even at the speed of light, it will take millions of years. So the
I
radio
think
signal
recently the astronomer called Phil Plait in Joe Rogan podcast, he said that the reason why we might have not yet made contact with any civilization might be that sorry, the reason why we might have not made contact would be ki they didn't actually survive for that long to make contact. Okay, because you see, on this vast cosmic time scale, our existence is very much temporary. I mean, if you guys have seen Cosmos, so there's this thing called cosmic calendar. The idea is that we push 13.8 billion years, the age of the universe. We'll just somehow push it down, compress it to a calendar, a yearly calendar, where 1st January,
Is the Big
12,
Bang.
12 o'clock, like,
Yeah,
1st January.
Big
It is the Big Bang. And right now, it's the last day.
31st
It's a New
December.
Year, New Year's Eve, okay? So if we actually try to compress everything, we have just started existing on that scale for like 1 minute or so.
Yeah.
We're at the last minutes of the universe, like this existence of humans, right? So
the
if you think
cosmic
about
calendar,
it,
the
yeah.
cosmic scale is very
and there was like 13.8 billion years ago. So then, and if we are existing for like 1 minute here, then there might have been so many seconds, if not minute, of civilizations that might have been existing and then they died. So
that may be a possibility.
yeah, and that is like a very big
So that's
reason.
why we haven't made contact with
Yeah,
alien
there is a
civilizations, I guess.
possibility of that.
So there's a lots of stuff to cover about extraterrestrial life.
Yeah.
We will go into detail.
Yeah,
in
in
specific
Like,
proper
also the
episodes.
thing is, whatever we are like searching for right now is based on our knowledge. Like the
Yeah,
universe is
exactly.
all of mysteries. So we
Yeah.
have to keep learning, keep finding. Maybe there's some kind of wave which we are not heard of yet, but maybe in near future we would find it, and then we could like really locate that there is something,
It's all
someone
about,
out there
like,
who's standing us. Yeah,
evolution.
it's all about evolution. You're always learning in astronomy.
So another thing that I find intriguing in a space is supernovas.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful.
Supernova.
It's
Can
like-
you explain about that?
So, okay, one of the best ways I usually weigh in for supernovas is that the rings that you wear, okay, if it's somehow related to gold or silver, it's not very easy to mine them. Like you just mine it from our planet, but they come on our planet because of supernovas. And if you want gold, most probably a star had to die 2 times to generate gold, just to generate gold,
Yeah.
which is like very very cool. And like metal still Fe, okay. A supernova is an explosion, right? So just clearing things out, it's an explosion of a star, okay. We'll go in more detail in the further episodes where we would have dedicated section to supernovas and pulsars and stuff like that. But just to give a basic gist, these are explosions, and these explosions of stars, they throw out stuff in space, and this stuff falls on planets, right? And so the watch that I'm wearing might have metal in it, does have metal in it. These watches have iron in it, and
Us ourselves.
us ourselves, right?
Have been existing since the Big Bang.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Nitrogen in our DNA. Like there's this whole thing. We are all stardust, coming back to that same
Yeah.
statement. But so usually it's like it works like a fuel, right? If you have a star works on a fuel. So from hydrogen to helium, there's a conversion, and due to that conversion, you're emitting heat, then helium to next element, and it goes till iron. Okay.
Iron.
After
26.
iron, yeah, the core becomes too heavy to support itself. So there's an supernova explosion. Like not every star goes till iron, just say, but some stars go till iron. So when there's an explosion, now you have iron core, so iron is going in empty space. Now, if this star is actually revolving around another star, because in space, finding two stars is more common than finding a single star. So binary stars are more common than single
Single
stars. So these binary stars have to again collide with one another in terms to create metals, like to have the core so heavy that we go till
Like
gold
Yeah.
and silver, and that's how we get these metals. So
And
just think about the fact, like
all of these metals are available.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we have a singular star.
yeah, we have a singular star, which is also a very big deal, right? I mean, like, yeah, but the what star we have should not matter because it's still alive. Like, it doesn't die after supernova, but still, in that sense.
What happens when a star dies?
So, the idea is, so a star is going through a war, okay, of expansion and collapsing into itself, because of gravity, because it's a very huge body in
Mass.
space, right? Huge mass. So everything is pulling itself in. All these elements, all these electrons are pulling themselves in. But at the same time, there's an expansion going on because of heat, like the way
Fusion.
these nuclear fuels are burning. So till some time it will go, okay, but there will be a point where the fuel will be gone, right? And there's these two forces interacting, one wants the star to expand and one wanting it to collapse. And this expansion one would stop because of the fuel, so the collapsing force would win, right? The gravity would win,
Exactly.
and it would somehow shrink the star, okay, creating it making it dense, okay. So now you have more electrons around one another, and more atoms around one another, and it is shrinking, and this would really cause an explosion, right? And this explosion can be so huge that sometimes it might also create a ripple, like not just ripple, but it might create a hole in the fabric of space and time,
Okay, yeah.
which is
So
Black hole.
that's where black hole comes in. Yeah. So that's the
And
formation of.
you said this happens in sometimes. What is the sometime? What amount of time does this?
so. I don't know. I don't exactly know the time.
No, there's a solar mass required for
Yeah.
collapsion.
So it
to,
depends.
yeah.
10
Yeah.
raised to 4
Yeah.
molar
So
masses.
basically, if a star collapses into itself, it won't become a black hole. For it
Yeah,
to
it
become a
cannot,
black hole, it needs to have a solar mass 1.25 times of our sun.
Sun, which is
Okay.
called Chandrasekhar limit. It
Chandrasekhar
was given by Subramaniam Chandrasekhar, an Indian
So that's
scientist.
how the stars become a black hole. Yeah, so black holes are another interesting topic we can talk about.
Yeah.
What is a black hole then?
So as Shaurya said, the black hole is basically a mass of dense wall of mass,
Mhm.
which even light cannot escape. So black holes exist in our universe. It's just that we cannot see it. It's perfectly black. The light cannot escape it. So there is no way to see a black hole. But how do we know that a black hole exists?
If it's a ball, then why is it called a hole?
It basically gives a hole in a space-time fabric. Suppose this is a space-time fabric, like a sheet. So
Yeah.
black hole is so dense that it creates a illusion of
Yeah,
having a hole in a
Yes, you take a
sheet.
bed sheet
Yeah.
and put some dense object, like the bed sheet
Okay.
goes down. So that's the
But the black hole
space
is
fabric, it
so dense, so
goes in
dense.
straight way.
Yeah, it
Like a
creates the
drift.
illusion of a hole. It does not create an actual hole, but it creates an illusion
It
of
is
a
an
hole.
actual hole. It's a hole in fabric of space. and
Fabric
time.
of
So
space and
it
time.
is
Yeah,
like-
sure. We can even call it that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how can we see a black hole if it's perfectly black and it can even light?
These
cannot
are like
escape
very
it?
the questions I had when I came across astronomy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, the black hole has a gravity which is very, very, very dense, very huge. So the star systems around the black hole, the planets around the black hole, they orbit abnormally. Like they would not normally revolve around the certain star system. If a black hole exists in our solar system, we wouldn't be revolving our sun. In fact, our sun, our planet, and all the other planets would be revolving a black hole instead.
Because of its mass.
Yeah. So that's what happening with our galaxy.
Yeah,
And
exactly. It happens with every
it
galaxy.
happens with every spiral galaxy
Yeah.
as of now. So in the center of our galaxy, there is a supermassive black hole called
Sagittarius.
Sagittarius A. It's in a Sagittarius constellation as seen from Earth. That's why the name Sagittarius A. But it's a very massive black hole. Black hole are generally classified
Yeah.
into three categories: small one, intermediate one, and supermassive ones. So the supermassive ones are located in the center of every galaxy, and the whole galaxy revolves around them.
So us being a part of the galaxy, we are in some way
yeah,
evolving.
we are in
Yeah,
some way
yeah.
evolving around a
Yeah.
black hole. We
Okay.
can say that, yes.
Yeah.
So talking about galaxy,
Yeah.
a neighboring galaxy, the Andromeda
Andromeda
galaxy.
galaxy.
It is a spiral galaxy as well, and it has a black hole as well.
It's
Yeah.
much larger than our
Much
galaxy.
larger
Much
than ours.
larger, but as these are two big masses in space, they are attracting
Each other. They are eventually.
They are
Yeah.
they are coming closer again at
Yeah.
a very
Yeah.
fast speed. We would
Yeah.
say
According to the Newton, the mass attracts each other, so they are bound to collide to each other.
they are bound to collide very soon,
Yeah.
and when that
Very
happens,
soon on cosmic
On
time.
cosmic
Yeah.
cosmic time, yeah.
Not like
Kalora,
The
Kalora bhai.
the humanity will not survive to see that explosion.
Yeah.
yeah.
But
But no, they
but
they
the
just
life
I hope you
which
do.
Yeah.
I hope you do.
because it's
Like,
going to be beautiful. Because
Yeah.
the thing
Yeah.
is when these
we would
apart
we
from
wouldn't be affected on
apart
it.
from you being dead, it
No,
would
no, no,
be a
no.
beautiful like
No,
something
there's
to
no
see.
probability
it won't
of us being
affect.
dead.
It won't affect. So like
Yeah. Really?
we wouldn't be
maybe some-
affected by it.
No,
We wouldn't be.
No, we
may
wouldn't.
or may not. We
May or may not.
no,
That's
but
that's the
chances
case.
of
only.
colliding
Chances
are
of collision is
like,
very less.
next to minimum
Yeah,
because
because on a scale of cosmos, there is a lot of
Yeah.
vacuum between each celestial objects. If there wasn't, we would be colliding into each
But
other.
it's a possibility.
Yeah, it's a
you see,
possibility that some
when you see a galaxy, it looks very bright because of the amount of stars in it.
Yeah.
But
the stars are light years
yeah.
away,
Like
millions of
there's
light years
so-
away.
I mean, just think about our own galaxy. So sun and the closest star is what 4.6 light
Betelgeuse.
years away. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not Betelgeuse. Such is your Centauri. Proxima
Centauri,
Centauri.
Proxima Centauri.
Proxima because it's in
It takes
proximity.
4 years to travel at the speed
Exactly.
of
So it's still that's the closest that we are doing, right? And they are very close to be honest. But
the
if you
chances
see,
of us being hit by the celestial debris is very less,
Yeah,
but it cannot be avoided.
yeah,
Yeah.
If in case a celestial debris is coming towards us, it cannot be
Exactly.
avoided. That would be the end of humanity.
too
But the
much
chances are very
free
less.
space in the galaxy.
But the collision will be very beautiful. You would be
Yeah.
Yeah.
we will be again able to enjoy the night sky.
If we are unaffected by it,
Yeah.
it will be
Yeah,
We will be able to
the
enjoy the
sky
night sky.
will be
Yeah,
Like the
brightest.
Just preserve our bodies and bring us back to life at that
Yeah,
moment,
sure.
guys. Start a fundraiser.
Please do.
fun.
Yeah.
Okay. So apart from these topics, we will also be having good amount of so we'll talk about satellites. We'll talk about
Rocket propulsions.
rocket propulsions,
Yeah.
and we'll talk about
All that
okay.
things,
So
yeah.
the idea is like everything that happens outside this atmosphere is our domain.
Yeah, astronomy is not basically limited to watching the celestial objects and enjoying
Yeah.
them. It's every phenomena from leaving the Earth, the escape velocity,
Yeah.
till the end of observable universe as of now. That's the whole cosmos, and everything in it is the part of astronomy.
Yeah.
It's a very
So,
huge
as we
course.
said, it's the most ancient science
Yeah.
Yeah.
because it exists before life exists.
Life exists itself, right? Makes
Yeah.
sense. I mean, like it has always been happening, right? Medicine might not have been happening before because medicine is like
Evolution.
Before
Yeah.
us, yeah, sure.
invented, right? Well,
It was
astronomy
invented by us.
discovered. So
But astronomy was not discovered. It was there. Yeah, no, it was
discovered.
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 It was not
Yeah.
invented. It was not invented. It was
Yeah.
discovered.
It's okay.
Yeah.
it's our first episode.
Yeah.
So we're
Happens.
trying to keep it very much chill. Okay, but if you guys are interested in astronomy, I hope this is like a place you should always come to because we are no smarter than you guys, right? We are
Yeah.
just four random people who are talking about astronomy. And then
Passionate
Who
about
love astronomy.
we are just passionate, so we're just trying to make a move towards it. And
What platforms are we launching this podcast on?
Instagram will be the main platform.
Main platform,
then
yeah, sure.
Spotify.
YouTube.
Spotify,
YouTube for videos.
Apple Podcasts,
Yeah.
and
Sure.
Facebook also. if I'm not
Facebook.
wrong. So yeah, exactly.
Talking about the podcast future, we might bring in really smart people,
Really
Yeah.
guest speakers,
Guest speakers.
Yeah.
and
If we can have them.
and we will try to question them things which basically intrigue our minds and yours too.
And they will try to explain it to us in a very,
Very
simple
simple way.
language, like we did in that ISRO's outreach program, where
Exactly.
Yeah.
we taught kids about black hole and how the star, from the birth of star to the death of star to black hole and what galaxies
Yeah,
are,
so
to even fourth and fifth standard students.
So yeah,
That's
so,
what basically we will be doing through a podcast.
so these series of podcasts will actually take us across the Astroverse. So stay tuned for further episodes and
also
Yeah.
follow the page. You'll get amazing
Like, share,
Instagram
comment,
links.
subscribe.
comments and please
Share
do
with your
comment.
friends.
We'll be going to international observatories
Yeah.
to give you content of
So,
night
yeah,
sky.
Yes, we
So,
will actually.
you can even comment the topics you want to know about.
Exactly.
We will talk about that.
Please
too.
do comment
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. That's all for today's podcast.
Yeah.
So yeah. So see you guys again in the next podcast episode. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
Clear skies.